Welcome to the Lead Every Day show. Our mission is to see a world well led. And our strategy to get there? To empower leaders like you to lead every day. So let's get to work.
Is it really possible that there's a key that would unlock the greatness of your team? We believe so. Welcome to the Lead Every Day show. I'm Randy Gravitt.
And I'm Mark Miller.
And Mark, I'm so excited to talk about this concept today that I believe is what separates really good teams from the rare air of high performance. You get around the best teams in the world. There's always an element here that is true.
It is the difference maker.
We believe it is the difference maker, and it's the idea of community. It's the idea of community, and so we want to talk today about building community in your team. We said last week that 75% of our meeting time, we spent a week on meetings. If you miss those, it's just fascinating conversation. I love talking that stuff. So simple, and yet meetings in so many organizations are draining. If you missed any of those, check them out. But one of the things we said is 75% of the time on the agenda ought to be on performance management. There's this other 25% of time. This is not the only thing that happens in that 25%, but building community is a part of those really exceptional teams. There's a decision by a leader to build community. It doesn't just happen. I mean, we think sometimes that we can be on a team together for a long time, and that's what we're talking about. I know a bunch of people have been married to each other for 50 years and they're still not together. Mm-hmm. And I know some people that you can accelerate this pretty quick if you have an understanding of what we're talking about. So let's talk about this idea of community. And you got a little backstory on this.
Well, I got a lot of backstory.
You've been around for a while.
I'm an old man, but on this topic, our team at Chick-fil-A, I think most of our listeners know that I spent about 45 years selling chicken. And we spent about 25 years studying teams. We knew that most teams flounder. The vast majority of teams are mediocre or worse. Well, we didn't want to study those people. We realized that some teams were extraordinary. What made those teams so special? And we spent decades trying to figure it out. And this topic of community is the difference maker. It's the turbocharger. There are teams all over the world that are good because they have talent and skills. Mm-hmm. But the elite teams combine talent, skills, and community focused on performance objectives. And so once we discovered that, we said, well, we've got to help leaders and teams be strategic and intentional on building community, and it'll make all the difference in the world.
Yeah, that's so good. Okay, so if I'm listening, and we got people listening here, and they're going, "What in the world is community?" And when you say the word community, like I live in a community, we got a neighborhood watch. What is community? How? And we think it's important to ask that question because if you don't have a definition of it, you're gonna have a really hard time here. So let's define it.
Right. Well. So I'll give you a working definition. My encouragement to you is to define it using your own language as long as it captures the essence of what I'm about to give you. But we wanted to try to make it as behavioral as possible. So community is a place where people know each other and are known. Mm-hmm. It's a place where people serve each other and are served. It's a place where people love each other and they are loved. It's a place where people celebrate and mourn together. It's really a place where people come and do life together. And you can create that kind of place. Regardless of the language you ultimately use, it is the difference maker.
Yeah, I like the fact that you use the word together 2 or 3 times there. It is about being together. Mm-hmm. And there's an old illustration of think about sculling. You're in a boat and you're going. There's so many teams I get around, and there are people that are if you get around a crew, like a rowing crew. I don't know if you read The Boys in the Boat or not. Great book about the Washington team from back in I think the Olympics in what year was it? In the 30s or whatever, 100 years ago, and you read that book, and then there's been a movie out just recently, and you go and you watch this. When you got these guys rowing together, it's amazing the precision that happens, and that boat will just go across the water. It's like crazy. But when you got 1 or 2 people that are, we always say they're rocking instead of rowing, it's the alignment
Yeah.
gets messed up. There's not that togetherness that you talk about, and now all of a sudden the team is floundering. It's just not reaching its potential because you don't have precision alignment going on. And part of it is this idea of having community. Now, I think this is this sounds soft. I had a CEO tell me like this soft stuff. Don't be coming here and talking about love with our people and all this kind of stuff. And yet he got to the end of the session. He came up to me and he said, I thought that was going to be soft, but he said that ended up being the hardest thing you talked about. He said, I've got progress that I need to make, and our teams are not doing what they're supposed to be because I've not been modeling this and I've not been placing an importance on it. And so I think there's huge opportunity here. Even if this is something you prioritize, we would both say you can always do this better. You can always
Right.
continue working. In fact, we're going to unpack your definition here.
We're gonna talk
over the
about
next few days. We're going to unpack some specific things that they can do to do those things. But why does this matter so much? Let's just kind of land there. Like, why does community matter?
Well, I believe teams are a strategic decision that a leader makes in order to drive performance. And teams that combine talent and skills with community perform exponentially better than teams that don't. I mean, you can become a real team. 1 + 1 + 1 is 4 with talent and skills and some focus.
1 +
effort
1 + 1
is 4.
is
A real team.
The team. Yeah, yeah.
That's
yeah.
what you can be a real team.
Yeah.
If you'll
Not
do
with
it.
individual. Yeah, got it.
But if you want to be 1 + 1 + 1 is 10 plus.
Yeah, you got to have the community. part.
Community is the turbocharger.
It's
and
the-
so
it's the
why it
differentiator.
matters is it only matters if you care about performance.
Yeah.
If you care about performance, you mentioned it in the beginning. You talk about the great teams. And sports is maybe the too obvious and too easy metaphor. So I remember an interview with Mike Ditka, who was the coach of the 1985 Bears.
Yeah.
Many believe was the greatest football team that's ever been. And they posed that question to him. They said, Coach, we're not going to ask you to defend it, but let's pretend it's true. Why was the team able to perform at levels that were unprecedented? And he said they learned to play together and they learned to love each other.
Yeah.
It's kind of like talent, skills, and community.
Yeah.
And you can, the more you look at the elite teams, not just in sports, but in the world, the elite teams have this, some would call it an intangible, but I think you can make it tangible as a leader if you want to go after it.
There's an old Bible verse I love. It says, "How good and pleasant it is when men live together in unity, when brothers live together in unity." And we all know this at a family level. It's like it's good and pleasant when there's unity and there's harmony. We know it at a team level. It's good and pleasant when there's a togetherness like we've been talking about. But we also all know that it's not good and it's not pleasant when we're not together.
Yeah.
It's just, I think sometimes it goes, it's age-old wisdom, right?
Yeah.
It goes all the way back. And yet we forget so many times our teams may be struggling because we're not together. It's not that we don't have good people. It's not that we don't have a good goal that we're after, our strategy. It may be that we don't have that harmony, that unity that really would be the thing that would unlock it and take it to the place where we're talking about. So I just want to encourage you, if you're listening today, make sure that you are paying attention to this idea of community. It may be the thing that's missing that's keeping your team from achieving what it could. Now, here's the key. You don't do it. What we've been saying is you do this to go after results. But if you get community right, you realize that there is a piece of community that is not about results. It's about the community, and the results are the results of having that. And so we're going to unpack it here as we go these next few days. I hope you'll continue to join us for this conversation. The best teams in the world, the elite of the elite, they have talent. They're built with great players. They have skills. They get better. But at the end of the day, they have this togetherness, this love for each other, and we believe it could be one of the keys for your team if it's missing. All right, remember, the best leaders lead every day.